The flashing red and blue lights painted the quiet suburban street as neighbors peeked from their windows. A woman stood confidently on the sidewalk, arms crossed, pointing toward a black SUV parked across a driveway. "That's the one!" she barked at the officers. What she didn't know, what would soon make her knees buckle in embarrassment, was that the man she had just reported wasn't some careless neighbor. He was the commanding officer of the nearby Air Force base, the very base where her husband worked, and by sunrise, she'd wish she never made that call. It began like any ordinary weekend morning. After months away on classified duty, Colonel Marcus Reed finally returned home, a quiet cul-de-sac just outside the airbase perimeter. For him, this was sacred ground, his sanctuary from chaos, where the hum of engines and the echo of orders faded into birdsong and stillness. He'd missed it, his wife's laughter, the smell of fresh-cut grass, even the old oak tree shading his driveway. But that peace would last less than 24 hours. Across the street lived her, the self-proclaimed neighborhood watch captain, though no one ever asked her to be, Karen Matthews. She wasn't officially part of any HOA, but she acted like she ran one. Rules, notes, complaints, her life revolved around policing others. She'd made enemies of nearly everyone on the block. The landscaper she accused of noise violations, the delivery driver she once filmed for speeding, even a teenager who parked too close to her mailbox. When Marcus returned that morning, he found his driveway blocked by construction debris left over from a city pipe repair. He simply parked his SUV along the curb, half an inch across the invisible line she called her side. He barely noticed. But Karen noticed everything. From her front window, she watched like a hawk. Her coffee steamed in one hand, her phone in the other. Her lips pursed. "Not in my neighborhood," she muttered. Marcus unloaded his bags, stretched his back, and took a long breath of home air. No uniform, no rank, just a man returning to normal life. But to Karen, he was a violator of order, a man defying the suburban code she had written in her mind. Within minutes, she stormed onto the sidewalk, phone raised. "You can't park here," she called out. Marcus didn't even hear her. He was inside greeting his wife and kids. Her pride burned. To her, being ignored was worse than being disobeyed. By the time Marcus came back out to move his vehicle, she had already dialed 911. The police arrived faster than anyone expected. 2 patrol cars rolled up, lights flashing. Neighbors stepped outside, drawn by curiosity and the thrill of another Karen incident. She was notorious for these moments, each one another chance to perform. Karen greeted the officers like she was hosting a press conference. "He's blocking my driveway," she declared. "I asked him to move and he refused. Probably doesn't even live here." Marcus stepped outside just as one of the officers knocked. Calm, composed, his face unreadable. "Afternoon, officers," he said. "Something wrong?" Karen pointed at him triumphantly. "Yes, that's the car. He's been sitting there all morning blocking me in." Marcus blinked, then glanced at the SUV. It was barely an inch over the faded property line. "That's my car," he said simply. "That's my house." But Karen wasn't backing down. "That's not what the community rules say," she snapped. "We have a no street parking policy." The younger officer hesitated. "Ma'am, this isn't a private HOA area. These are public streets." Karen's face flushed. "Well, it should be. Look at this. Total disregard for community standards." Marcus said nothing. Years in command had taught him when silence carried more power than words. He just stood there, arms behind his back, calm, almost amused. Then Karen made her biggest mistake. Typical military attitude. Think you can park wherever you want. The words hung heavy in the air. The older officer's eyebrows rose slightly. "Military?" he asked, glancing at Marcus's short haircut, the quiet authority in his posture. "Sir, you stationed nearby?" Marcus nodded politely. "Yes, officer. Base housing's full, so I own here." Karen rolled her eyes. "Oh, please," Everyone says that. The officers gave each other a knowing look. All right, ma'am, one said. We'll handle it from here. Karen smirked, thinking she'd won. But she didn't realize the quiet storm she'd just unleashed. Because as they left, one of the officers radioed back to dispatch with a short note. Be advised. Subject may be base personnel. Confirm ID with command. And within the hour, that radio message reached someone who knew exactly who Colonel Marcus Reed was. The next morning, Karen's husband, Senior Airman Tom Matthews, reported to duty at the Air Force Base. He was called into the commander's office, confused and nervous. He wasn't in trouble, yet. Marcus sat behind the desk, uniform crisp, insignia gleaming. Gone was the calm homeowner. Now he was Colonel Reed, the man who oversaw hundreds of personnel, including Tom. Airman Matthews, he began evenly, I need to speak with you about an incident involving your household. Tom froze. Sir? Marcus slid a printed report across the desk, the police call log from the night before. Your wife made a report accusing me of illegal parking. She didn't recognize me off duty. Tom's face went pale. Sir, she didn't know. I understand, Marcus said quietly. But your family's conduct reflects on this base. You represent this command even when you're off the clock. Tom's voice cracked. Sir, I'll handle it. I swear it won't happen again. Marcus looked at him, not with anger, but measured disappointment. I believe you, but tell your wife. Next time she calls the cops on a neighbor, she should make sure it's not her husband's commanding officer. Word spread fast. The story became legend, passed from one barracks to another, told with equal parts horror and humor. Karen Matthews called the cops on the colonel. It was the kind of embarrassment that no one in that community ever lived down. That night, Karen came knocking, hesitant, pale, holding a tray of cookies like a peace offering. Colonel Reed, she stammered, I just wanted to apologize. I didn't know. He simply nodded. Apology accepted, ma'am, but maybe next time, just knock before you call the cops. She nodded, speechless, humiliated. The power she'd wielded over her neighbors evaporated that instant. The neighborhood never saw Karen the same way again. Her authority dissolved overnight. The woman who once policed everyone's lawns now avoided eye contact, walking her dog with quiet steps and lowered head. As for Marcus, he didn't gloat. He never mentioned the incident again. He understood something deeper. That authority doesn't require shouting, threats, or control. Sometimes power is best demonstrated through restraint. But the story spread far beyond that cul-de-sac. People began to talk about the arrogance of entitlement, the danger of assumptions, and how quickly judgment can turn to regret. Marcus continued his quiet life. He still waved to neighbors, still parked his car carefully. But every time he saw Karen across the street, he was reminded of one simple truth. Respect isn't about titles, uniforms, or driveways. It is about how you treat people when you think they can do anything for you. So the next time someone rushes to judge or calls the cops over something petty, ask yourself this. What if the person you re-reporting is someone you all have to salute tomorrow?